Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm back. Luke's back. And guess what? We're back with a W.
Yeah,
I mean, man, there's a certain time last night where I thought I'm going to miss this show because I was sick and I had been gone for 5 days from the show. And I thought for sure I was feeling like shit on Thursday that when I got back to this show, we would talk about a W.
Yes.
And there was a portion last night I think was going to happen. I did not think it was going to happen, but here we are. W for the Grizzlies. I've never been so excited about one win before in my life. The Grizzlies, one win on the season.
It feels so good.
It feels so good. I mean, the Blazers suck. There should be 2 wins, but and we could talk about the game on Friday as well. But man, a W never felt so good before.
It's weird how good it feels.
It is strange. It's also just kind of stupid. Like, right. Like, I know, like I was on Twitter last night too. And we all like, oh, so excited about an 8-point halftime lead. It was like the world. I'm like, we had just won the NBA title over here, about an 8-point halftime lead. People were so excited. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how beaten down. Yeah, that's how beaten down the Grizzlies fans have become, and we in general we were beat down and downtrodden as Grizzlies fans to where that first W felt good, baby, felt good. So I'm just glad that we're not talking about a loss. Glad for the post game show, Daniel and Nate. They didn't have to talk about L last night. I know they were excited.
They were ready to sub me in, and I was about to go on, and then they were like, "No, they won. Daniel's coming." I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Good. Yeah, Nate had champagne and everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was ready. They were both ready. Shout out to them.
They were both
ready for that. Good for them. All right, let's obviously today we're talking about the Grizzlies W. We're talking about Stats Monster, the second segment, and then last segment we will talk about the Bismack Biyombo rotation and kind of him as in general. We talked about it on this show a few weeks ago when the Grizzlies had options and what they were going to do, and we told you what they were going to do. They did it. We told you why they were going to do it, and then Bismack Biyombo promptly did what we thought he was going to do. So again, I don't want to say that we were right on this show, but so far since this show started in its small first season portion, small sample size, but we've been right all along. So
we've always been right so far.
I don't want to say it, but I have to. I feel like I have to. I don't have a choice.
You have to. I think you should.
Yeah. Anyway, anything that stuck out to you on the Grizzlies win last night? Obviously, I think there's some very big obvious things that they did well and Portland didn't do. But I do think this was a game that was, and a lot of times I think we say, oh, well, the Grizzlies did something and the other team did nothing. I think this was a game where the Grizzlies did a lot of things well, and it to their credit, and the Blazers didn't really. They weren't giving it away. You know what I mean? They weren't throwing it away. They weren't doing things poorly. And so I do think this was more about the Grizzlies and what they did last night than the Blazers and what the Blazers did not do. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it's like you said, there was a point last night where it was like right at the end of the third where it was like, we're about to lose this damn thing. I felt it. It felt like the past couple games where we had just let the fourth just fall away from us. It felt like it was going to be that. And just hats off to them, because they not only did they not let that happen, but they picked themselves up and just were like, they put their foot on their throats and they were like, fuck this. We're getting a win tonight. We want a win tonight.
Yeah, much to Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane's credit. Yes. Desmond Bane, 2 30-point games in a row. Jaren almost got there, 27. Jaren 27-7 last night. He only gets credit with 1 block, but I know that's wrong. He should have been credited with like 3 blocks, and that's a disservice to him last night.
2 fouls in 2 games?
2 fouls in like 40-something, or no, 60-something minutes.
That's awesome.
He's been great. Jaren and Desmond have been great over them. I mean, and that's the thing, is you can't ask much. That was the thing about Friday, is that they did everything they were asked to do. 2 30-point scores. Like, there's nothing else you want them to do, right? Des, same thing. 30 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds himself. There's nothing more from your guys. And then they only had to play 34 minutes. Not that that's a lot. That's more than normal, but that's not a ton. Playing 38, nothing more you can ask those guys to do. And last night, it was about what we said all along. It was about the bench unit. It was about the reserves. It was about the back half of the rotation. What we've been talking about for the last week and a half on this show is that this was not about the starting 5. This was about getting some of those guys back, like a Santi Aldama and a Luka. So you didn't have to play a Jake LaRavia, and they unfortunately played Kenny Lofton, but not having to play those guys. Xavier Tillman was a late scratch last night, and I think had he not been a late scratch, we would not have gotten Bismack Biyombo, which is unfortunate.
Oh, you think?
I don't think we would have gotten the minutes that Bismack played 25 minutes. I don't think we would have gotten those minutes from Bismack Biyombo. And he was great, and I think all of his minutes. I didn't see a portion of minutes where I was like, oh.
He looked ready, man. He did not look. I mean,
to be clear, he's played 751 games or something in the NBA. He's not like and that's why I was so irritated on Friday. Is like Xavier Tillman was awful. If that's what you're gonna get from Xavier Tillman, Bismack Biyombo is not gonna be worse than that.
No,
right? You're not going to go down from here. And so that's what I was so frustrated about Friday. Like, there's no reason. I understand. Like, don't give me the shit of like, oh, he's been with the guys one day. He hasn't been with it. He doesn't have the scheme. Who gives a fuck? Like,
he's been there 11 years.
The amount of games this guy has played in the NBA to just like, you know what? And it's like asking him to run the offense. Hey, go out there and be big and play defense, right? And that is what that's all you care about. So I think Taylor made a huge mistake on Friday. I think it probably didn't. I'm going to say cost them the W, but it really could have helped them along the way because they had some major defensive problems. And to be clear, they had major defensive problems last night. They still do, but they were able to get some points off the bench, and that were able to alleviate those problems or just help, right? Like, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that is the number one thing of like, okay, let's get, like we said, we've talked about this. Let's get some of those guys back so that we're not having to play G League guys, right? We're not having to play Vince
literally
Williams
G Leaguers.
Literally, yeah. I mean, they played Jacob Gillard last night. There's not much else to do. Like, I didn't want to play Jacob Gillard. I don't want to play Kenny Lofton Jr., but like, when you'll only have Bismack Biyombo and Jaren Jackson Jr. as your only bigs, there really isn't any other choice. Like those guys cannot play the full game. There isn't any other choice. So, and to be clear, Kenny Lofton was totally fine in his minutes and in the first half. I mean, it was fine. I'm not like you guys know, I'm not a big Lofton Jr. truther, but it was fine. But that's the point. Like they got the minutes. They got the minutes or they didn't have to play those guys huge minutes. They had to play Kenny Lofton Jr. and Jacob Gillard 10 minutes. They were 10 minutes each. Jacob Gillard was awful 10 minutes, but that's all they had to play him.
Junior in 10 minutes is perfect. You put him for 10 minutes. If he plays any more than that, I don't think he's as effective. But like less than 10 minutes, that's perfect. And man, getting Santi back, dude. Like Santi, people need to realize how good of a hooper Santi Aldama is because he spends his summers hooping with like grown men in Spain, comes back over here and just keeps getting better. He's an NBA, like an actual NBA guy. And I'm so excited for this season because I think he's the slow-mo of this. Like that's in my mind, when we didn't re-sign slow-mo, Santi's taken that role over. And I think he's exceeding expectations for me at least. And he's so young still. I'm so excited now that he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've told the story, but I thought Santi Aldama was going to not be a NBA player at all. But he has really developed, and to be clear, that was based off early
Loyola,
games.
Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look like but to his credit, he has been very good. And getting him back playing 20 minutes, and I think that was according to Taylor, that was his limited minutes, right? So. On Wednesday, because Luke played 31 off the bench on Wednesday, does Santi also played 28, And I think that, again, that's the most important thing is finding a way to limit your non-NBA players. Because for a while, before those guys came back, you're just playing, you have a handful of actual NBA players, and that is it. Like, And it's hard to win games when you only have like legitimately like 3 or 4 NBA players on your roster. Like that is really difficult to win. And that's why we said on the show last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, last time I was on the show, it said, hey, look, let's just be positive and be patient. I'm going to reserve judgment on this team and I still will. I'm going to reserve judgment on this team until they get their full complement of players back. Even Xavier Tillman coming back would be helpful, not having to play Kenny Lofton those 10 minutes. He can play those 15 minutes as well. That's what we're looking for. Now the Grizzlies' health issues have just been a lot of bad luck, right? Like you get one back and one. I mean, you get Santi back, you lose X. You get someone back, you lose Derrick Rose. Like
Conchar's hip is gone,
and then John Conchar has gone too, and John Conchar could have been that those Jacob Giard minutes as well last night. Like there are guys that we don't necessarily love that aren't necessarily fantastic NBA players, but they are serviceable NBA players. Like, and they're serviceable guys on the back of your roster to fill in, right? And that's where we still are. We still are in that point of like, okay, their health is still an issue for this team.
Yes.
And we got a W, but be reserved and just understand that. Like, I think people are trying to blame Taylor and like, what the fuck do you want Taylor to do? Like that's my question is, what do you want Taylor to do? Who do you want him to play? There isn't any options. You got to play somebody.
He's doing this shit where like he won't play these guys in like the second half or something. And we don't know why they're getting the second half DMP. And then we find out they're injured. It's like, well, shit, we're pissed in the moment because we just think Taylor's not playing guys. And we're like, oh no, they're just hurt. And
well, like, he did that last time with Kenny Lofton Jr. I think he got that DNP CD in the second half. And I think that feels like for those guys, that feels like in the first half, I want to still rest for my main guy for the main guys, just because I know in the second half I'm going to need them, right? Like let's steal as much rest as I can.
And Luke played so much of the second half, like a lot of the second half.
Yeah, and Luke was great. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about Luke. He's our stats monster of the day. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about Luke and how good we thought he was.
I am highly upset, man.
Oh, man.
ESPN, you dastardly dogs you. Last week had us feeling good. They picked the Grizzlies to be first in the West with about 48.5 wins. And what a difference a few days makes.
What a difference.
You put out your list of the top 100 players in the NBA. Desmond Bain jumps in at 61. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in at number 31. Jaren's top 25 to me, but if you all right, whatever. I think that's a little slight to Jaren. Desmond Baines is disgusting, in my opinion. But then we get Ja Morant, all-NBA player, 2-time All-Star, one of the most dynamic offensively players in the NBA, Ja Morant. That guy was number 35 on their list, Kenny Stubblefield. The same people that said the Grizzlies will be the first team in the West. They're going to get that done with just some regular dudes.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Just curious, you kind of talked about the transfers and things like that. How has that changed your mindset from a roster management standpoint? Like, incredible recruiter. All the classes, I think we had 2 back-to-back and 21 and 22 top classes. How does that change with the transfer portal? Do you start focusing more on upperclassmen? Do you kind of get away from the younger freshmen? How does that work?
Yeah, so I still believe in our coaching staff, the way we do things and developing guys. And that I will never get away from that philosophy. We're still going to recruit a high school class. Now, there's a lot of colleges out there that say, screw this. We're pushing all the chips in on this roster, win right now, and we'll figure it out. Sure. And if it doesn't, right, it implodes and bad things happen. But I think you still have to bring in true freshmen and develop them and see what they can become. And that I'll never waver from that. But the portal certainly changed things.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm Mark. Got Luke. This is the shameless promotion time of the show. We'll make it quick today because I want to get back to our stats monster of the day. But if you're not already a Bluff City Media Insider, make sure you go and do so. It's super cheap. It's $5 a month. You get access to our Discord. You get access to our insider articles. Joe Monax is working on a great piece for our insider articles. I think you had the insider insights from last night's game, Luke. I mean, tons of great
Sean
stuff.
Coleman too.
Sean Coleman obviously always has great insider insights as well. So great stuff over at Bluff City Media. Not only Grizz, but Tigers as well, soccer, all kinds of good stuff. Everything that happens in the Bluff City, we got you covered. Check it out tomorrow as well. Tigers Untapped. You saw the commercial just for the Tigers Untapped. The Tigers, Penny Hardaway, kickoff tonight right here in the Bluff City. So check out Tigers Untapped tomorrow. It's going to be probably a great show. They're going to talk all about Penny Hardaway. I know I'm talking fast. I'm trying to get through it. Last thing, if you sign up as a annual member for an annual pass, you get a free t-shirt off our merchandise store, which is
hell yeah.
If you haven't checked that out, our merch store, check it out because got a lot of great stuff over there and we come out with new stuff all the time. And as an insider, you get access to merch early and 20% off all of our merchandise too. So no better reason than to be a insider than right now. Let's get to our stats monster of the day. It's going to be Luke Kennard. I hope he's watching this. I know that he is. He and I speak daily. We'll send your certificate in the mail. Luke Kennard, Nard Dog, as I refer to him as affectionately, plus 30 last night. 15 points, a couple assists, 5 rebounds for Luke, 4 from 6 from 3. That is the Nard Dog game that we needed so desperately.
Yep. He was a 60, 50, 100 shooting splits. Like, it's so good.
Talk to me, Daddy.
It's so good. And it's like, when he gets his swagger too, man, like when he's feeling it, I love watching him because he's just, he turns into that, like, he's not an asshole, but he just kind of has got that like shit-eating grin sometimes when he gets going. And I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. He needs that confidence back. I mean, Friday, he looked broken Friday. Like he looked like he did not want to shoot anything. And when he did shoot it, he looked like he knew it was never going in. So Luke, he looked broken on Friday. He needed that game, something bad. But he was great. I mean, he was great. And just like you mentioned in the earlier segment, 31 minutes for Luke. Played a shit ton of minutes down the stretch. Yeah. That was also because who was maybe Roddy was in foul trouble.
Several, wasn't he?
But Desmond was. Yeah, Desmond was. Desmond was in foul trouble. Yeah. So he had to come in and play a little bit for him as well. Also, shout out to Taylor for not pulling guys in foul trouble. I mean, Bismack Biyombo and Desmond Bain were the guys he kind of did with Bismack Biyombo, but he let Desmond play. Yeah, he let Desmond play a lot through it though. So I hate to see when he pulls guys out because I mean, the biggest. So what if he fouls out? Who cares? Like,
who cares?
It's better than him sitting on the bench when you need him the most, right? But
yes,
this is a Luke Kennard segment, not a foul segment. So shout out to Luke. I don't know what more you could ask from him, honestly.
Well, there was a sequence on Friday. You like he passed on a wide open 3, and not only passed, but like just looked lost. Like did a weird jumble step, passed it. The ball found its way back to him. And then he like bricked it. And I was like, holy shit, this isn't, this player is I've never seen this version of him. Not in Detroit, not anywhere, not with the Clippers. Like he's never been like that. And I was worried after Friday, but we knew he was a game like this away. We knew he just needed one game like this and he would, he just needed one. Shooters need one game like this. And not that they're fine, but that's all it takes. It takes one game to break that rotten streak.
Yeah, I mean, he's a career almost 50% free throw shooter, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, sorry, 3-point shooter, not free throw shooter. He's a much better than 50% free throw shooter, thank God. But he's a career almost 3-point, 50% 3-point shooter. Like, he's not gonna. I think Sean Coleman put this stat out. Shout out to Sean Coleman and his stats, but like, I think it was like he's 18% in his first 3 games or some shit like that. Like, he's not going to shoot 18%. Like, it's just not. Like, I know that it sucks, and that's like a really bad shooting slump, right? But we've had 7 years or however many years we have of Luke Kennard shooting of justification of like, yeah, he's going to come back to the positive mean, right? We talked about that last week, rushing to the mean, or pro to the mean, So that's what you saw last night. You saw Luke Kennard get back on track. Hopefully that continues because you continue to need him. You need those 15, maybe 20 points off the bench. And you'll need him to continue to, even if he's not shooting, you'll need to continue to be that threat of like that reliable, like people have to go out and guard him. And that's the point. So,
man, if he keeps playing like 15, 20 points, 5 boards, handful of assists and a handful of steals, like sixth man of the year, man. Like if he can play like this all season, he'll be sixth man of the year. No one's running away with it yet. Like I don't think, I mean, it's an early season, but nobody's grabbing it there's no one so far where I'm like, oh yeah, that's sixth man of the year, and if he plays like this, it'll be his to lose.
Tim Hardaway Jr. would be the guy. He's coming off the bench.
Yeah. He's been playing.
I know he's pretty much a starter, but them bringing him off the bench, he's playing lights out. He would probably be the guy that I think I'll touch off the top of my head that I would like. Yeah, he would be a good competition.
Good. Yeah, if they stay
especially
playing good.
And that's the key for that award too. Like it's a lot like MVP. Like you might have some guys that are playing really well, but if your team's not good, they're not going to give it to you. Same thing with most improved player. If your team's not good, you're not getting it. It's just not. It's just that simple. So let's take another quick break. We'll be back on the other side. We'll talk about our Bismack Biyombo rotations last night and what we see going forward.
Seth Hennigan just still he
doesn't look himself.
He just doesn't in the big moments. He's not making the plays that have to be made. If you look at the raw stats, they're not terrible. But the 2 interceptions, and he fumbled twice. They didn't lose those fumbles, but 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions. One of them coming at a terrible time on a 4th down late in the game when Memphis really needed to put points on the board. But I just don't think Seth is playing well enough to elevate this team.
Right.
I think he's playing well enough for Memphis to be fine. But as far as for them to do something special and to elevate this team, he's just not playing like that.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Kenny, there are certain guys in the NBA that are enigmatic players. They're going to be appealing to a large fan base. But when you have guys like that who, like John Morant, who have off-court issues he's had, Kyrie Irving who's had the things he's had, the NBA doesn't particularly like the fact that those guys are larger than life. If I'm the NBA, if I'm ESPN, who of course are working together on all this stuff, I'm going to start telling you who you need to like. And it's going to be a different type of guy to kind of play off of the guys that are going to be there anyway. Let me put these squeaky clean image guys that we want to put in front of you up there as well to kind of counteract some of the stuff we get with the guys that we don't have any control out of. So let me put the Tyrese Halliburtons in front of you. Let me put the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders in front of you, the Josh Giddys. Let me force these guys in front of you, not particularly on national television games, but let me just kind of create these little sub agendas with these guys to kind of make them those second tier stars that we're gonna like put out in front as well. Like they're doing this on purpose, man. Like if anybody can't see this, like come on, man. Do not sit there and tell me that you really think that Tyrese Halliburton is a top 20 player in the NBA.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I just want to remind everybody all of the great programming we have on here. You saw the commercials for Anthony Sane Show. Comes out twice a week. Also, the Grizzlies 101 post-game show. Great show, Daniel and Nate. After every single game this year, 82 of them. They won't do as many shows as we'll do. No. They'll do a lot of them. And Daniel and Nate are great after the post game. Sane has been on a couple of shows already. They have guests on all the time. I might go make a few appearances here and there. Luke as well. So those guys always have a good time. They take your questions and comments and all that stuff. And it's a really very interactive show. So if you haven't already checked out the Grizz 901 post game show, make sure to do that. It's really cool. And so let's continue on the rundown for today. Bismack Biyombo, updated rotation. He's exactly what we thought it was going to be. Right. Mm-hmm. He is a big who rebounds the ball, plays defense, and blocks shots.
Yep.
I mean, he's exactly what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I did not think it would be as good as that in his first game. Be honest, 11 rebounds from him, 8 points, 3 blocks. I mean, when him and Jan were out there, he affected the defense in a way that it was very much like Steven Adams. Like I'm going to tell you right now, Kenny Lofton Jr. would not be on this team after when Ja comes back. He just won't. It's as simple as that. He won't be here anymore. As long as everybody, it doesn't even matter. Kenny Elton Jr. will no longer be here. They signed him to a $5 million contract when they could have signed him to a $968,000 vet minimum. And they did that the way that the contract is tradable. It does a few more cap related things, which I don't want to get into because it's boring and no one cares probably but me. But it does a few more things that are cap related that are just less than let's just sign him for the vet minimum for 20 games and more of let's sign him for the year, right? That's what that tells me. As long as he is effective and good. And if you get that out of Bismack Biyombo every game, you're not going to have Kenny Lofton Jr. on this team anymore. It's just, it's just that simple. Hey, you're muted, by the way. Your mic is muted.
My bad. I was
like, I don't hear anymore.
I was doing a ventriloquist act where I could like,
it was quite good.
He does like what Junior does. Biyombo just did everything better in like his first game with the team. Like that's
he's just bigger, right?
He's bigger, man.
And he's better. Like he's an actual NBA player. Here's what he does best, right? He sets really good screens. That's something Steven Adams did. He sets really good screens, which is exactly what Steven Adams did, right?
So pretty.
And lets Dez get a lot of space. A lot of space. He's not going to roll, but neither did Steven. But he's going to, I think there's options for that maybe in the future. But what's more important about this that Bismack Biyombo does for this team, and exactly what is, again, this is what Steven Adams did for this team, is it takes the attention off of Jaren, right?
Yeah.
If people have to worry about someone like Bismack Biyombo or Steven Adams as a center down low, you saw a lot of times last night where Bismack Biyombo was fighting for the rebound, right? He's going up and getting, and he tips or misses or whatever, and Jaren's right there to scoop it up for the offensive rebound.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he does. He takes away pressure off of Jaren. He takes attention away from Jaren so that Jaren can be even better. And that is the most important thing for Bismack Biyombo. That's what he does best. And that's what Steven Adams did. That's why he was so good for this team, is because he took pressure off of Jaren. He took attention away from Jaren. He set amazing screens for Ja and Dez and lets them get downhill. And what you saw last night, it's almost like they took him aside like, hey, look, we don't give a shit if you score or not. But these are the couple things you got to do. And he's like, okay, bet, I got you. Yeah, like it went out and did them.
I'd be curious to go see the lineups with the Suns last year. I mean, if he was doing that shit for Booker, like Dez and Book, like their chemistry was just real. I wasn't expecting them to have like those screens that looked that good. Like him and Dez particularly, I was like, damn, they look good together. Like they look really good together.
Shout out to Brown on Boxing watching on YouTube. He just mentioned in the comments that he had 4 assists too. That's a perfect mention. Not let us forget about that. And I just kind of glossed over it, but yeah, 4 assists. I mean, did everything you asked him to do.
18?
He was plus 18. And I know I saw a couple people tweet this, right? It's not, I don't know, maybe originated from Sean. Either way, the defense when him and Jan were on the floor were like the defensive rating was like a 69, which is like insane good, like crazy good. And it's one game sample size, and I want to it's great to get excited about that, and I love that, but I don't think it's going to happen every time because there are going to be other teams that are better than the Blazers who are able to exploit them more. Yeah. But it's a good like window into what you could get, and I think that's the most important thing. Like it's a good window, like what could be for this team with Bismack Biyombo. And again, I don't know if we get 25 minutes from him if Xavier Tillman plays. And this is why I was mad he didn't play Friday. I think he can help you. And there's no reason not to play him there. And hopefully, Jenkins and staff saw that and go, okay, all right, this is your starting center from now on, right? This is going to be a starting lineup.
Yes.
Xavier Tillman, hopefully is just maybe they get some time off now until Wednesday. Hopefully maybe that's just that's you're gonna get Xavier back on Wednesday. Probably not, but maybe.
Probably at least by Friday.
What?
Maybe by Friday.
Yeah, maybe by Friday. But the idea is that Bismack Biyombo's starting center and Xavier Tillman's gone off the bench like he was for Steven. Like he just
we need him.
Yep, exactly. Brown on Boxing asked a question: why didn't he play at all on Friday? We don't know, man. We asked the same questions as well. The coach speak is what they always tell you, is that he didn't have time to be with the team and learn their defensive schemes, and
he looked fine.
The idea is that he doesn't know enough with the team to understand, and they don't want him to be a liability out there. But like we said in the first segment, he's played 751 games in the NBA. He's good, right? He's fine.
He's good.
He is he knows how to play defense. Like in that, because he's not asking to run the offense. It's not like a point guard. Like, hey, here's all the plays you can install, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's true. You just go out there and be big.
Yeah,
and rebound the ball. So
yeah,
I'm excited about Bismack Biyombo. I think that him and getting Luke and Santi back are just such big things, right?
Yes.
So I would be continued to watch that and how they play together. And they play the Jazz on Wednesday.
Heat, right?
Heat. Oh, sorry, Heat on Wednesday, Jazz on Friday, I think. Heat on Wednesday. I think
no Caleb Martin.
I'm starting to get positive. Maybe that's a winnable game.
Yeah.
Maybe win some games. Nah, the downside is the stretch next week is just fucking brutal, man.
It's bad.
It is brutal.
Yeah, it is.
They need to collect as many wins as they can get, because it gets real bad real quick.
Yeah, it does.
So either way, that's going to be it for our show today. I think we're going to also, just so you guys in the future know, we're going to start a mailbag segment. That question from Brown Box is a great question. We're going to start a mailbag segment. We're probably going to try to do it on Mondays. I think this week we'll do another one this week. Maybe do it tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. We'll do a mailbag segment every week, so look at that for that. We'll do our questions on Twitter. You can reply to us on that tweet. We'll get them up on the show and answer as many as we can for that segment. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're not already a Bluff City Media Insider, if you can't do that, make sure you just go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's really helpful, and we do appreciate it. So we will see you guys tomorrow.